Then as we get deeper into 2016, we see that activity is focused specifically on emails at the DNC and in other places associated with Hillary Clinton and her campaign. Unbeknownst to us, in May of 2016, an individual with the Trump campaign named George Papadopoulos has a meeting with a friendly foreign diplomat in which he tells that diplomat that the Russians have informed them that they have a lot of negative information about candidate Clinton, and they offered to help the campaign with that, with using that information. But we don't know this in May. So when you get into June and July, and what happens? Now we see the information we know the Russians have taken is actually weaponized. It's released on the eve of the convention in an effort to harm candidate Clinton. Seeing that activity, the friendly foreign diplomat realizes the significance of the information he has received from Mr. Papadopoulos, and he then passes that to us. So at the end of July in 2016, we've known for a while that the Russians have been targeting our political systems. We know they're doing it through cyber means. We know they've taken this information from the Democratic infrastructure. They used it against candidate Clinton. And now we know from someone in the campaign that they were at least aware of the fact that the Russians had this information and were willing to make it available. So the obvious question for us then is it possible? Do we now have information that our most significant adversary on the world stage might be working in concert with a domestic political campaign to undermine the stability and sanctity of our democratic elections? We make that decision to open the Russia case for that reason. We open the case, and then we think, okay, now who are we actually going to investigate? That's a good question. Who do we know who's associated with the campaign who has known significant ties to Russian intelligence? We quickly come up with 4 names that will not surprise you. Mr. Papadopoulos, because he's the guy who made the statement. Paul Manafort, who's well known before that time to have had high-level contacts with political contacts in the Ukraine, with candidates who are supported by Russia. Michael Flynn, simply because he had engaged in some very high-level and very public interactions with Vladimir Putin and other Russians. And an individual named Carter Page. Carter Page was a guy who's known to us for many years, had come up in an earlier counterintelligence case, who'd actually been interviewed and alerted by our agents to the concerns we had about the people he was interacting with, and who then went and shared that information with them after the briefing. So Carter was a person who had significant former contacts with Russian intelligence agents. So the 4 cases were open on that basis.